speakers, feel free to put that into that section. So let's welcome Elena and Caragh.
Thanks, Jim. All right, you guys, actually before we jump in, we're actually going to play a video. And Caragh, you mentioned earlier today that there might be some fireworks going on from where you are all the way from London. So we'll just make sure that we are aware of that. So Caragh actually is from a social impact brand focused on empowering women. And I don't want to steal too much thunder. We're actually just going to roll the video and then we'll jump in. Does that work?
Sounds great.
I'm one of the co-founders of Zena, and I'm so excited to be here today to just tell you a little bit about who we are and why we exist. So Zena is a nonprofit jewelry line that has a purely social impact aim based out of Cali, Uganda. I'm here in the HQ today, and I can't wait to give you guys a little tour around the HQ a bit later. But I just wanted to tell you first why we founded Zena and why we believe that this model is one that's really special. So we founded Zena on the single premise that investing in female entrepreneurs has the power to change the global stories of gender inequality and extreme poverty. It's a big dream, but we're seeing that it's working. We work with women who have a business dream. They come to the Zena HQ for interviews, mostly talking about their own passions and what they want to launch as a business down the line. And we're able to work with them on a short-term contract, making the products that you can see here. And while they're working for us, they receive a salary of which 40% puts them and their family above the poverty line, and 60% is put aside as savings for their own startup capital for their dream businesses. Also, while they're on our program, they receive education in kind of one-on-one mentorship level with our entrepreneurship director, as well as more formal classroom setting, learning things like marketing and managerial skills, basic literacy and financial literacy, and all kinds of other good things that will hopefully mean that when they graduate from our program, they're able to start scalable and sustainable businesses. We have been able to see women already like Susan and Robina graduate with a shoe boutique and a garlic and ginger farm. So as you can tell, there's a huge range of different businesses that come through our program. And our graduates are being able to see their children put in school through the salaries and savings that they're making on their businesses. And they're telling us that they have gained positions of local leadership and they're able to advocate for the causes and passions that they really hold dear to themselves, which is something that we just love as a part of our really production model. We're able to actually mainly exist to see female entrepreneurs achieving their own business dreams. On the product side of things, we make all of our products out of waste materials. It's all made out of recycled Ankole cattle horn and locally sourced recycled brass. And we love being able to work with the cattle horn because typically it's just discarded as a waste byproduct, and sometimes it's burned or melted. And we're able to take the horns and turn them into something that we believe is a really beautiful and fun product.
Hi, this is Shakira. Welcome to our interview.
This is my working space as the finance manager. You can have a look.
Let me introduce you to our community room.
We use this for our classes and our lunch breaks. This is our cattle horn store. This is where we keep our raw materials.
This is Omar Julius, one of our trainers, and he does such a great work at this organization. Hi, this is my entrepreneurship class. As you can see, we are socially distant. Not even COVID will come in the way of getting these gems. Discussing how to improve our businesses. This is how we build our minds every day, and this happens every Wednesday. The leader is talking.
New program members, currently they are in their training. As you can see, they are putting on their workshop gears because safety comes first in the workshop. Thank you. Zena means to dance.
All right. I love that video because you definitely get a sense of how it goes down. And we got to meet your co-founder, Lauren, who's in Uganda, right, Caragh?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I realized I'm literally matching her with the with the same like earring jacket combo. Oh my goodness, I actually had completely forgotten that she's wearing this in the video.
You mentioned it. I noticed that. I was like, oh, they matched today.
To you for a second. I'm getting text that the Zoom link is not working for people to get in.
Okay.
So wait, we do have some attendees. Okay, it looks like some people are getting in. Sorry to interrupt. I'm getting text saying the Zoom isn't working. So, but it looks like we're okay. So I'm gonna disappear again and go back at it.
All right. Well, Caragh, I think the video does a good job of talking about Zena and the background, the business model, even giving a good sense of the personalities of the people, the women who are in the program. But first, if you could tell us a little bit about you, like your personal story, your journey, and why you guys founded Zena.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, on the video, you met my co-founder, Lauren, who is obviously like, sorry, she can't be with us today. I mean, the time difference to Uganda means hopefully she's sound asleep right now. But yeah, our kind of journey we met together. We both took gap years in between school and university. And we always say like it was probably the result of really good SEO, but somehow we decided to go to the same organization, this tiny organization in Eastern Uganda. And we met kind of with this shared hope that in this time between like school and university, that we'd be able to learn from people and kind of make connections and build relationships with people who came from a completely different world and country. And we learn so much. And I think, you know, in that period, the thing that we both were like really inspired by was a lot of girls we were meeting, genuine friends we were making who are our age, who, you know, were 18, early 20s, who, you know, maybe had multiple children already and who were supporting families and who had these big dreams for what they wanted to do, what they wanted for their families, what they wanted for their communities. And we saw a lot of the kind of this resonance of the way that we we thought and what we wanted to run after. And Lauren went to study at UT, University of Texas, and did youth and community studies and minored in fashion and merchandising. And I came here to the UK to study at Oxford, and I was doing geography and kind of post-colonial feminist development was kind of what I was looking at. And that really allowed me to then spend a lot of my summers back in Uganda. And I ended up kind of looking at it more from the opportunity to research it. And I was so passionate about it. Both Lauren and I were so passionate about kind of these stories that were so compelling and genuine, like these genuine connections and these friends that we've made. And as a result of that, Lauren ended up being involved in the practical side one summer of a women's empowerment program in rural Uganda in a small town called Zurobwe. And I was involved studying that and doing a number of interviews as part of my dissertation research at Oxford. And we kind of ended up meeting at it then like 3 years later, after we'd been kind of 18 and out there, meeting at it kind of Lauren from a practical approach and me really from this academic approach that met by these, I think we took like 50 interviews that summer, hearing women's stories. And during the day we were doing kind of focus groups, hearing, you know, from these women who were living under the poverty line in rural Uganda and supporting large families, often single households, and at night trying to transcribe all of these recordings. And this same theme and this kind of like hook in us like started to take root, which was these women are entrepreneurs, and there is this drive towards innovative market solutions in these rural areas that really, like, these women are these guys are talking about their dreams and thinking about like, okay, what is the barrier? And we were both coming at it from this like charity perspective, seeing a lot of grant giving organizations and simultaneously looking and really interrogating models of microfinance and thinking like, okay, that's an interesting way, but starting to see like the other side of debt. And I think both of us were thinking like, okay, handouts and loans seem to have their pitfalls and it's challenging. And so we started wondering and throwing ideas around about social enterprise and about what is the power of employment here. And so that's really where it started, is this idea that, oh my goodness, like the premise of everything that we do at the Zena brand is that we really believe that female entrepreneurs can change the global story of extreme poverty and gender inequality. And we believe that if you can allow or release women to be running businesses and employing adults, like vulnerable adults in a number of cases, and to be running their businesses with a view towards community change, you put the power in the hands of those who like deserve it, need it, and can have a vision for it. And so the way we kind of thought that we could do that, and the tool we decided to use, was a jewelry brand. And so that's what we have with the Zena brand.
I love that. I could feel the passion for this coming off the screen. And I love that. And I'm actually super excited to hear even more about some of the women that you guys have worked with and that have come out of the program. So we'll definitely talk about that. Jim mentioned that my background is brand marketing. So one of the things that I was super curious about is how you guys chose to build your brand, because I think, you know, it's pretty clear you brought so much of your personality into it. But there's so many dimensions to your brand. There's empowering women, there's, you know, the finance and the business, and then there's the jewelry aspect of it. Can you talk a little bit about how you make it all kind of fit into one brand?
Totally. And I think, you know, this is definitely like, we are on a journey with this. This is one of our biggest challenges. You know, you have to be really responsible with the kind of narratives. You need to be aware of like the culture that we're speaking into, as well as the one that we're kind of coming from. So yeah, this is a hugely important like space, I think. But I think, you know, talking about it from like the fashion space, accessories market, and who we were, we actually, and we spoke about this the other day, but when we originally came to market, it was with a kind of more high-end product and same material, like all made out of waste materials, still jewelry in that category, but we did a bit of home as well. But we came at it, the first thing was like the premise of this brand, it cannot be like cheap, like charity stuff. Like it cannot be that. It absolutely, we just abhorred that narrative. So immediately we were like, okay, therefore this needs to be a stunning product. It needs to be highly celebrated. It needs to speak of the richness and life of its land of origin, that, you know, the team, we wanted to be proud, like they wanted to be proud of this product. And we thought like the value of the women's time, the value of the team's time, and the intricate craftsmanship coming out of this rural town in East Africa, in Uganda, was valuable. So we started with this product that was high value, and it was under a different brand name. And we you know, we did well with that. It was exciting, that initial journey. We actually, this year, which is mind-blowing to me that it was this year, we had a really exciting partnership with Diane von Furstenberg for International Women's Day, and we designed a collection for her in celebration of what she was doing with the In Charge movement. And our products were sold with Bloomingdale's last summer in celebration of the Lion King. Again, this feels like eternity when we could do launch events and that kind of thing. But what we were finding in this process, I think two things started happening. One thing was our consumer that we were hitting because of the price point was an older consumer, probably a woman, kind of 40 plus, like a slightly more mature woman, which is interesting for Lauren and I as young founders. We worked out that we weren't very good at speaking that language. So, and our brand, and it was so funny because our advisors at the time when we were launching this product were like, the most important thing is you need to be able to speak the language of your customer. And I think we thought that it was going to be fine and we could do it. But slowly but surely we started realizing there was a genuine disconnect between how we were able to communicate the values that we had and the community that was around us, and then the way we were able to speak. And what we also started seeing was, you know, looking at our analytics and just doing the market research of who was engaging on social channels and on those platforms that were so native to us were girls our age, and they were passionate about what we were doing. They loved that it was all recycled product. They loved the material. They loved the story. They wanted to be part of it, but it was cost prohibitive. So we were really struggling with our kind of product market fit. And so this year we actually underwent this fairly significant rebrand. We've changed our name, and at the same time gone for a younger demographic that is definitely more true to self, like us as the ones who have to sell it. It's just so important for us to be able to talk about it to like the right people and like our girl. And you know, our like logo, I'm wearing this jacket that Lauren had made for me in Uganda. She sent it in the mail and it took like 4 weeks to arrive for my birthday. But our logo is this goat, which was, I have like this goat sticker on the back of my phone, but it's like a goat. And we just decided like we want it to be fun. Like our office mascot in the HQ in Uganda is this goat called Zena. And we just wanted it to actually be really genuinely true. And, you know, things like on a Thursday, we do team bonding, and often it ends up being like a dance off, or we teach fitness videos to the team and they all get up dancing on a Thursday morning. And I kid you not, like even today I was getting texts on WhatsApp from one of our team members being like, we did this dance today before work started, you know. And I think we were missing this. I think what we realized, like really like core personality, and everyone was saying like brands are people nowadays. Like your consumers want brands to have a voice, and I don't think we really trusted that was true. But this shift to Zena and trying to be true to that has definitely shown that that's really real. Yeah.
It seems like you guys are having so much fun with it, which is so cool. I feel like, you know, like you said, people go into brands knowing that they're also, you know, choosing a person and choosing that brand's identity based on the backstory and the people. So it seems like you guys have really taken on like what's authentic to you, what's your personality. And then to your earlier point, making sure that you're representing Uganda and the women that are in the program, which is amazing. I think that video showed us a little bit of a glimpse of that. I can imagine there's probably some entrepreneurs in the audience as well who maybe want to learn a little bit of some of your favorite moments starting Zena, so maybe memorable moments, and maybe even a few more challenging moments, knowing that we're in the middle of a pandemic and that affected a lot of businesses. And it'd be just great to hear from you. What were some of the ups and downs for you guys?
Yeah, definitely. Oh my goodness. Yeah, 100%. And I actually this summer was reading the classic entrepreneur Shoe Dog Phil Knight book. And I actually got really emotional in the last chapter where he talks about how jealous he is reading back of, listening to younger entrepreneurs and thinking about, could he do the journey again? Like it being just the ride of his life. And I felt emotional in that moment, thinking about how I think that's where we are now. Like we absolutely are still at the beginning of this story. Like we're learning, and it's this hard, especially this year, like honestly, really hard, but joyful like battle and decision every day. And I think like being a entrepreneur and being in the fashion market this year, I really feel like every single day my alarm goes off and I like stare at the ceiling a little bit in the morning thinking, okay, this is another day in the boxing ring. Like, okay, yeah, we got pummeled a little bit yesterday, or like the UK's just gone back into lockdown today, and like we're kind of navigating those repercussions, but you have to get back in there and fight for this, because it is worth it, and it is going to be like the fight of your life, but it's the ride of your life. And I know we spoke the other day about some of those really early moments. I mean, our story, like we were newbies to the fashion industry. Lauren had done a bit at school, but most of my girlfriends from school and from senior school laugh now that I'm kind of in this fashion space, because it was not at all where we started. We were not at all in that arena. And so we worked out pretty quickly, all right, we need to get sold in stores so that we can get bulk orders. We were just like, we've got to sell this stuff. Like this is a means to an end to us, but we've got to sell it. And so we just did what we kind of thought we could do, which was like, all right, we've got to take this stuff and get it in front of people. So I mean, one spring we flew over and we picked up a car in San Diego and drove it the whole way up the coast to San Francisco. And I remember like Lauren, I couldn't drive in the States yet because I was too young with the insurance, but Lauren would drive and I was sat like on my phone, like starring on Google Maps every single like women's boutique that was in the like price range that we were looking at on my phone. And we stopped at over 100 boutiques, and Lauren would pull up and I would jump out with my little box and our lookbooks and be like, hi, I'm so sorry to bother you, but like we're here from Uganda. And they would get so confused about my accent, and that this girl is like in my store and she's talking about, I think, Uganda, and she's British, but I think she's trying to sell me something. And we had these genuinely, this was like our strategy. We just go in and ask if the buyer was there, ask if the manager was there. And oh my gosh, you get exhausted. It was so tiring every day, in and out, rejection after rejection. We stopped at over 100. We got sold, and I think 7 in the end said yes. And some of them, oh my gosh, are still like some of our closest people. They just said yes to us when we were really, so new and fresh. But we wouldn't trade that. And that market research is so valuable. Like now looking back on that, thinking about the insights that you got. And I mean, we did stupid things as well. Like someone had told us, no one is going to look at your brand unless you have 10,000 followers on Instagram. Someone had said that to us about getting into bigger retailers. And so for some reason, I don't know why, we decided this is the way we were going to do it, but we ordered like 3,000 temporary gold flash tats, like gold flash, like temporary tattoos that were sparkly gold with a sunshine on it, and our brand name. And we went to, oh my gosh, where was it? It was on the beach in LA.
There you go. No, Venice Beach.
Yes, Venice Beach. And we were deciding that people were going to want these flash tats so much that if they followed us on Instagram, they could get a free tattoo. And so we honestly spent a day, and we had like decked ourselves up with helium balloons, and we were there with like glitter on our faces, giving out these flash tats, talking to anyone who would listen. And, you know, I don't know whether our board would now say that's a good use of co-founder time, but at the time, like, you know, we had nothing to lose. Like, this was before we even knew it was going to work, so we were just all in. Now I think our hustle looks different. I mean, we have a, like, you know, I mean, the classic, you're just cold calling people, putting them in a spreadsheet day after day after day, just like seeing me, you're just spending a lot of time fishing, just hoping you're going to get that moment. But I think, you know, we know our why, and that just keeps us going, like every single day, like getting our like text. Even today, I think this time of COVID has been such a disconnecting moment for so many people and so many brands. And for us, like as an international team, you know, we're really trying to protect each other from feeling like we're islands in this season. And, you know, to get like WhatsApp messages from one of the women who has just put down her payment literally today on her lease for her shop front. Oh my gosh, yeah, like we're in this together. Like I'll fight for this. But yeah, I think we're still very much at the beginning of this journey.
I love that. And so Caragh mentioned a book that she's reading, Shoe Dog, written by Phil Knight. I have a personal connection there too. But what I love is you kind of have a similar story, as different as the brands are, right? Like there's a story that Phil Knight and Bill Bowerman were doing exactly the same thing you were doing, but instead of flash tattoos, it was footwear for runners.
Right.
But I think what I love about what you shared is it's about sharing your why. It's about sharing your story, and then like being true to what you're passionate about and authentic to who you are. So love that. So in the video, we did learn a little bit about your business model, and we even learned about the product, the jewelry itself. Can you talk a little bit about the product now, like the craftsmanship and how it's built?
Yeah, totally. So the product is all, it's handcrafted out of Ankoli cattle horn. So it's a cow that is killed for its meat in the agricultural industry. And the horns are usually discarded or burned. And so there's been this kind of emerging arts community that has really reclaimed these horns and found ways of using them. And the local craftsman work is just extraordinary and just spectacular, how amazing that work gets with the horns. But the cows, I think we're excited by it because it's a recycled product. The agriculture industry is absolutely key, like absolute critical industry to a lot of rural communities and farming communities, and they're pastorally farmed in general, actually on the west, and they're known as like the cattle of kings, and it's because their horns grow up to, in some cases, like 6 feet long. They are unbelievable and really unbelievably just spectacular animals, but it's such a shame that these horns would be discarded. So I think it's really stunning that we've been able to find like a special way of using that and being able to support local artisans. It's funny, like our products, we as we said, like because our business model is all about basically giving women access to employment that pays well enough for them to save up so they can start their businesses. So for them, they're not, you know, the women that we're working with are not passionate really about the product, though learn to get so inspired by it, and they talk often about how amazing, and this kind of amazing, just kind of they're intrigued at the beginning, and then there's this learning process and they all have to train for 3 months learning how to use the machine safely and that kind of thing, and by the end these women, they're confident, competent craftswomen, and it's extraordinary watching them go through that process of learning together as a team. But we have amazing Ugandan artists who are in-house with us, that are now with us. They help us prototype our products and they teach the women, and being able to strengthen and train that core of artists is something that was not at all like the goal of why we started Zena, but it has become so important to what we're doing, and amazing to support the arts in rural Uganda. It's interesting, like we right now are in the process of importing a laser cutter for our team to start thinking about like, how can we introduce technology to this process? How can we think about upskilling in this environment? And that's something we're excited about. But currently, yeah, the products, we have a fairly like small range right now. We have 8 styles of statement earrings that are all made out of this same recycled product, and also recycled brass from Kenya. And yeah, just continue. We've got such an exciting year planned next year of specific drops of more goodies to come with the horn, but really committed. It was like absolutely in the DNA at the beginning, like, yeah, it would definitely need to be some kind of recycled product. It made sense. And it was also cost effective for us.
Right. That I think that's what's so cool about it is, for some brands, some other businesses, like sustainability is the kind of the hook, like it's the main aspect of their business. Whereas for you guys, you're using those natural recycled raw materials that are local to Uganda, but it's kind of like table stakes, like it's just part of your business, it's part of your DNA, as opposed to it being your main reason. But it seems like it was really important to you. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think again, it's probably just a bit like, we as young founders, it probably was more, we've all been like, I guess, taught, but it was really, I guess, just natural to us that if we were going to be making something, we needed to make sure that we weren't going to be harming anything. And, we really wanted to make sure that we had integrity in the products that we were selling and didn't want to contradict the impact that we were in it for. And then I think, it was about like finding the right thing, and we wanted it to be a product. We started at the beginning, like the classic recycled paper beads, but everyone was doing it. It wasn't super marketable. And I was still studying at the time when Lauren was doing a lot of this research into the product category. And I would be like in my lectures at Oxford, looking at my phone under the table, and Lauren would be like sending me these pictures of her in these back streets of Kampala, like with like another dusty room full of, because it makes a mess, like working with horn, it makes like a ton of mess. She'd be sending me videos being like, I think that we can do this, but like we need this amount of money to make this number of machines, and but this horn is so cool. And we just fell in love with the material. It's just so versatile and so cool.
I love that. That's so unique too. And I like how you guys are thinking about different ways to bring innovation into something that's so natural and such a fit for Uganda. It's so cool. And I hope that other brands, and I know that's part of what this series that Britta has hosted is all about, like sustainability and the ethics, the human side of it, which is truly what, the impetus of Zena is focused on. And I loved reading about how your program has, taken women out of poverty, has brought education to children. And then I know when you empower women, we know that they bring it right back into their community, that it's so much more than their family and so much more than their generation. I'd love to hear about some of those stories, because I think that's probably part of the most, inspiring thing about the work that you guys do.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, it's the absolute privilege of my life to get into this contact with these guys. But yeah, so I guess, the guys, when we interview, the process is, I mean, we have a line out the door. Like I remember that first time we opened doors for interviews, we interviewed over 100 women for 10 initial places. And that has just increased. Like the demand for this program is high. Women in these rural areas, obviously employment is hard to get, and a lot of these guys haven't accessed education, and so getting access to both loans and formal employment is a challenge. If you can't even read or write your name, there's that barrier immediately that you can be up against. And so what we firstly recognize is there's a huge amount of demand for this, and the innovation of the ideas that women are wanting to start business-wise is so inspiring and so cool. And it's our dream just to be able to grow this and really be able to see this scale. But I mean, I'll give you a couple stories from the last month. They're ones that are they've been, again, it's been a hard year. And so for these guys to be starting businesses in a pandemic, I just think they are the bravest women in the world to be doing this. So for example, Susan, she is one of the younger women in the program, and she came to us at the beginning. She was like, there is nowhere, she's my age, so she's 25 now, so she was like, there's nowhere for me to buy shoes in Kamuli. There's not a shoe shop. And this is obviously like a problem that I'm sure many of us could relate to finding frustrating. And she was like, I want to be the one to start this shoe shop. So she worked with us for like 2 and a bit years. And she obviously, in her month, the way that it works is she's saving month by month by month towards the capital that she needs. And so she just graduated in September, and we had like many back and forths in our team around like where the shop was going to be located. And she managed to secure the most incredible place in town for this extraordinary space. And she's designed, we would spend ages like on Pinterest with her, like looking at different like shoe spaces that we could try and replicate. And she got in these amazing carpenters and designed this shoe space completely herself, and has fitted it out. Like the amount of like the sneakers, she's got like bright green sneakers in from Kampala, and the range of stock. We're so excited for her, and she's clearly like, she's providing a public service as far as we're concerned, and the story is going amazingly. But I think, you know, for these women that they're business owners, like these guys are hard teeth, they're going into negotiations and being brave, thinking like, actually no, that isn't a good price, like I want to get a good price for this shelf, and I want to get a better price for that transport that I'm paying for to get the products, you know, and making those kind of start-up business decisions. It's so cool to watch them do that, and to do that in community with each other, because they're all in that same stage of like, oh, your contractor said this, okay, my contractor said this, and being able to support and collaborate is so powerful. And then another, you know, for Susan, I mean, we're just so proud because people really stop and look, because this business has been dreamed up, and there's this excellence around it that, you know, she's just not been willing to settle. She wants to make inroads into that. And then another woman, so Jennifer, she's on the other end of the spectrum, one of the older women in our program, and she came in having never received schooling, none, like had never been to school. She signed her name with a thumbprint, like, you know, hadn't done literacy, and our team provides literacy in Uganda, so that was a process that she was able to go on. And something that she really recognized, she wanted to start a cattle farm. She's graduating at the end of this month, and right now we're getting pictures like on the daily of the fencing and the stables, and she's got all of these Frisian cows that she's bought, and it's going to be like the margins on it is great, like she's in a really strong position. But for her, she wanted to start a business that would employ solely illiterate adults, recognizing like that same stigma, vulnerability, challenge, barrier, you know, and wanting to create a space where others she can relate to can come in and access some kind of employment, empowerment, confidence, you know, these spaces of community collaboration. And I think that's the power of giving women the reins, you know, they've been able to identify areas of vulnerability. And similarly, like Rehema, one of the women who graduated last month in September, she started a convenience store, and she has a disability, so she can't walk like completely, fully. And for her, being able to start that business has meant the world. And she says, I mean, in her words, she said, like, I want my children to see that even if you're lame, you can start a business. And for her, it's a sense of pride, it's a sense of power, and being able to have a voice in the community and contribute to like local governing issues, and actually have the bravery to be in the marketplace. And I just think, you know, it's an amazing, I think, tide that is turning in Kamuli, that has been started by these women and by these entrepreneurs themselves, deciding actually we can do this, and if we do this, we can do this together. And there's power in a marketplace if we create this together and we rig it in favor of the change we need.
That's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I just love that, you know, you're kind of creating a mini a town, a whole civilization with what's authentic to them and what their needs are and what they're passionate about. That's absolutely amazing. And you talked about the 3 women and how they're kind of graduating or are in the process of graduation. Jim put on the chat the launch pad that actually talks a little bit about the social impact program itself. Can you break it down for us? Like, how does the program work? You mentioned the literacy aspect of it, but if I was, in Uganda and I was part of the program, how does it play out?
Yeah, totally. It's such a good question. So the way that it works is the time of each program member is split between workshop hours when they're earning, and then the kind of the training side, which is just like the benefit of being a part of the program. So every single day, the day starts with class. So that might be, we do kind of, it's almost like a pastoral social community class on a Monday, which our Ugandan team run, and we talk, like the women talk and create this space between themselves around, family planning and questions around nutrition in the home and sanitation, and just these are just real life, healthy household, healthy, mothers, wives, like just having this space of community and conversation. So that was something that we hadn't planned on starting, but became really clear really quickly that this needed to be holistic. And so that's Monday. Tuesday we do leadership development, and that's all around, as I said, some of those skills that you don't really even realize that you have from peer-to-peer learning growing up at school. So the kind of courage to raise your voice in a class, and the courage to, as I said, like be able to negotiate or talk about things like team building and employees, and those kind of questions around what do we think a good leader is. And again, it's very discussion based, and we do different kind of exercises and challenges of like public speaking or negotiation questions and that kind of thing. Wednesday is when we do the kind of hard entrepreneurship stuff. So that's a full resourced curriculum run by, again, like our Ugandan team, who just run this training in such an amazing way, and really have gone through a modular approach which combines both classroom-based teaching, practical skills-based learning, almost like apprentice style challenges, as well as mentoring and guest speakers and that kind of thing. And then as part of that stream of entrepreneurship, we have one-on-one mentoring. So that development from business idea towards budgeting and business plan is a process that the women are taking on a one-on-one basis, to really make sure that, Jennifer's cattle farm that launches next month is going to need really different things to Sandra's hair salon that launched last year. And then Thursday we do team bonding, as I already said, something just, again, really important with interpersonal skills, and confidence and friendship is just key, I think, to genuinely like empowered individuals, like team included. And then Friday is literacy. So as I said, there's been that was again an initial obvious blaring need for the team was we need women to know it, like to have the confidence to go into negotiation knowing like does this math add up, and it like I need to be able to sign my own name on this lease, and just that like these are safety measures, protection measures, power measures for the women. And so and then this process, this is this daily classroom space that happens until about 11 a.m. and then we transition into the workshop, and again finding avenues and opportunities in a working setting to like we rotate leadership roles of who's counting stock on this week and who's involved in the production target setting that week, and we really try and give that kind of vocational training work experience opportunity as well within the program. And as I said, it's usually about 2 years, but we have that flexibility around tailoring it so that the women only stay as long as they need. The whole point is that they can just use us as this vehicle, this platform, this opportunity to then leap into their own dreams.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. I mean, I love the aspect of how holistic it is, but still so very tangible to giving them the tools and needs or skills that they need to actually launch their own dreams and businesses, which is absolutely amazing. I think what I seem to pick up from all the three stories that you shared of the women who have come out of the program is that there's, yes, it's like those, skills, but then there's also these other sort of soft skills. You mentioned bravery, confidence. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because that seems universal, regardless of what business path they choose. It seems like some of those values are super universal across.
Oh my goodness, 100%. And I think, we're all on this journey together, and to find friendship in these spaces of work is so critical. And that was one thing that we recognized, is even the value of having a space that's safe to work on a daily basis. And really simple practical things like we're a female working environment. That means we need to have really good maternity leave opportunities, and just really practical, like when the women, need sanitary facilities and that kind of thing, like really being aware of how we can be honoring the team and our female based working group as best as we can. And I think, so there's kind of this, we recognize that safe space is important. And unfortunately, I mean, as has been the case here in the UK, as I know it has been the same in the US, but unfortunately, like gender-based violence for us this year has been a real problem with the lockdown and our team not being able to gather and have this sense of like daily refuge and daily retreat in some cases from, maybe abusive or really difficult, honestly, like honest, hard backgrounds, has been a challenge, and recognizing the value therefore of having these moments of encouragement and safe spaces. And then I think often about just like, what does it mean to flourish? What does it mean to thrive? What do we need as human beings to do that? And I think friendship and genuinely having people who are in this together. And we see so often, like if one of the women is sick, they obviously will all go and like visit, and they're looking after each other's kids, and they're supporting each other if one of them has to go to the hospital for whatever reason. But these are networks of genuine family that form, which I think is an extraordinary privilege to be around. As well as then, I really think one of my favorite things has been watching us all like together develop voice and develop what it looks like to have a voice. And it's funny because I went to a girls' school growing up. I went to single sex when I was between like 13 and 18. And I remember in that environment, I never even considered like what does it mean to be a woman? Like, what does it mean to be a girl? Like, I just, I did actually all sciences growing up at school. Like, I chose those things. I thought I was going to go to med school, which is another story, but like, I never questioned like, oh, I'm a girl, should I go into sciences? Like, I'd never even think about that. And I never even thought about like, should I have a comment in this lecture? And then I went to university, and at Oxford, suddenly I realized the girls didn't speak and the girls weren't communicating in tutorials and that kind of thing. And I realized, oh my goodness, maybe it's because when you're in a female like based environment, you don't question the power imbalance. And I think we see in some ways maybe a similar thing, where because we have this, like most of our team are women, apart from our workshop staff, Julius, who you saw in the video. But I wonder if there's something about this equalizing opportunity where suddenly there is safety, and there are women who are being like completely vocal and saying what they think, how long they think that lunch break should be, and and fighting for like, okay, we want this day to be like a half day, I don't know, like, but even internally in the workshop, having leadership opportunities and roles, I think has been really powerful to give, especially to some of the younger one, the ability for them to know, like, actually, I have a voice, I have the ability to say stuff, and I should be listened to, and having arenas to be listened to, and that when they stand up, we will listen, and like and I say we, like the team, all of us together, listen, and finding opportunities for like, so one really simple just manifestation of this is we realized registration in the morning was a really cool opportunity to have a voice, and so we take it in turns for someone to call the register. to welcome the team and to set everyone off. And it's really simple, but one person has to stand up in front of the community room and they gather everyone, they call everyone in, we register, everyone, office team included, and then we get set off on our tasks, not by like us and the office team, but by one of the women. And they get so annoyed when they get nominated to be that person, but it's the truth of, didn't we all need someone to push us onto out of our comfort zone and say, you need to do this, you don't want to, but you need to, you can, and you're going to grow from it. And I think, yeah, you know, having those comfortable, challenging but friendly spaces, I think it's changed my life. I think it changes all of our lives.
That's really cool. I mean, I'm sure it's, like you said, it may be annoying in the beginning and then you do it, and like that feeling after you're done is probably so riveting. I love that. And I just feel like, you know, you've hit on so many universal needs, from, you know, having a voice and having that confidence, to friendship and feeling safe, and, you know, having a community is so great to hear that those are all things that, you know, you're teaching them and you're learning from them. And we're now, you know, had the honor and privilege of hearing from you and even being inspired by that. So thank you for sharing. I'm super inspired by your brand and the many aspects, from, again, the table stakes commitment to sustainability and using raw natural materials, to literally empowering women and giving them these lifelong skills that, you know, eventually help them make their dreams come true. It's super awesome. So thank you. I'm super happy that I got to share this experience with you and the people that are watching. It sounds like, Jim, you're jumping on with us.
Yeah, hi. So I'm back, and this has been such a great discussion between the two of you, and so many different you know, elements of this in terms of you know, a true startup, not only for the organization but for the entrepreneurs that are starting up in Uganda. So this has been really great. Hey, so we've got about 10 minutes left in this session, and so we wanted to just make sure that we had a chance to have you provide any sort of commentary from both of your perspectives. And I know, Elena, you've been primarily hosting this portion of it, but from both of your standpoints, maybe we can use this last 10 minutes in terms of, we have a number of folks that will be watching the program from various design schools, undergrad and graduate schools throughout the US as well as internationally. So we'll have a ton of students like that. We also will have some business school students who are interested in social enterprise. So you'll get a couple of different perspectives that students will be taking away from this. Just sort of as sort of the final thoughts here, if maybe both of you could share a little bit about what draws you to this, in terms of what draws you to the whole social enterprise elements, and then for the students that might want to pursue this as potentially their career path, if you had a chance to do your respective careers over again and have a restart, what would be something that you would share with them to say, consider this because you'll need it later on?
Yeah, Caragh, do you want me to jump in?
Yeah, go for it, Elena.
So I think you mentioned something, Caragh, that was really interesting when you brought it back to the book Shoe Dog, and towards the end, how Phil Knight himself, who has obviously founded a multi-million-dollar global brand, right? It's quite a well-known brand, and it is interesting to think, what are the similarities between Nike, who's you know, been around longer obviously than Zena, but I think what's super inspiring to me is you started off with a pretty simple idea to empower women, but what's super cool about your brand is, again, like for your generation, there are certain things that are just table stakes and expected. Like, it's our responsibility to be sustainable. It's our responsibility to have a purpose. Like, we didn't talk about purpose, but I think a lot of the reasons why these women have the voice, the confidence, the community, the friendships that they're taking away from your program is that you're giving them purpose. And I love that. And I think that those are the things that, from my experience with Nike, again, going back to that connection with the book, is that Nike was also founded on that sort of passion and purpose that you talked about. So I guess for me, if I were starting up a brand, that's the thing that I would really look at, is what am I passionate about? What is something that is going to help me show up to work day in, day out, whether it's, you know, glitter tattoos at Venice Beach or running shoes at track meets, like, you know, things that are pandemic proof too, right? Because Caragh, you talked about like the last 8 months, like your partner's in Uganda, you guys have internet issues trying to connect. Like, how do you continue to run a business when some stores are closing? And I think about that from a sport and fitness perspective. Like, sports was shut down for a very long time, you know, like we have to figure out like, what can we do? How do we show up for our community? How do we run a brand or business where we're so passionate about what we're doing that no matter what challenges are thrown our way, you know, we can find ways to innovate and we can find ways to continue to show up. And that what we're doing brings us that kind of purpose and drive. So hopefully that answers your question, Jim.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
great. That's great. Let's hear from Caragh's perspective on the same topic, please.
Yeah, Elena, I absolutely agree. I love exactly what you just said. And I think one thing that I would add to that, I mean, we talk kind of in a similar vein, but like around this kind of 3 frame opportunity around like, how is our business, like kind of think about like, okay, the purpose of our business. And for us, that's our bottom line. We always say like our bottom line is seeing the women have their own bottom line, like their own businesses, and see their businesses released confidently, competently, and sustainably for them. But also then, okay, like our operations, like that's like one, like our purpose, and then our operations, which is, as I said a little bit, like, okay, what do we decide about maternity leave? Like, what's the culture of our internal organization that we want to create, and being intentional about that right from the beginning. Like, how do we do, I don't know, performance development internally with our team, or what's the relationship that we have with our board or our investors? Like, how do we manage those kind of connections in a way that we, as a community and a culture, that we want to be propagating and reflecting and standing in, and reproducing. And then thirdly, like, I guess in terms of leadership, so there's third, like the leadership part of the frame around, okay, you know, as representatives of your brand, like you are the one pushing it, you are the one talking about it, you are the one who knows the inner workings of it, and you're having to sell it all the time. What does that look like? What kind of leader are you? How do you stay true to kind of values of, I don't know, integrity and honor and those kind of things? And so yeah, I think the thing about starting a business, and from a social enterprise point of view, is that businesses are unbelievable vehicles of those things, and they kind of bring this opportunity around cultural renewal or cultural change and possibility created, and conversation in our culture. Like on Instagram, so many of, I guess, like, you know, you're seeing on a daily basis this conversation play out that informs and that kind of directs cultural conversation, and to be part of that, you have a responsibility, I guess, and a tremendous opportunity with that as well, and to think about what you want to stand for as a brand. And then Jim, a little bit to your point around, you know, if you were at the starting gate, what would you say? And I would just say, like, I think so much, Lauren and I always say, and I think having like a partner or like a business partner, co-founder to run with and just lean on and to be supported by is a game changer. And it's honestly like been the reason we're still in this, is that support together. But to have that ability, like to say, okay, we just have to say yes. And it's that first big yes. And, you know, I remember so clearly Lauren texted me again. I was in the library in Oxford, and I still remember the place that I was taking a call on patchy Wi-Fi. And she was in the middle of, in Camuli, where we now are based. And she was saying, there's not a space for us. And I think at that time we thought we were going to use it. We were going to use a room or lease somewhere. She was like, we've got to build a building. And I remember signing off on that decision of like, okay, we're gonna construct a building and an HQ in Uganda. And that at the time that felt honestly the most overwhelming decision and unbelievable commitment of saying, okay, we're in this, like, here's the money, here's the signature, let's go. And like you have to say yes to scary things, and it is going to be scary. And it's often when, you know, like Lauren and I have this thing that when it's hard, you know that you're making like the important yards, because so much of success is just a metric of how long you can stay in the game. And sometimes you get pushed out because you run out of funding with startup life, but other times it's because you lose faith. And so I think it's like, okay, it is going to get hard, that's a given, that's when you dig in. And I think that's certainly what we're just like telling ourselves right now.
Hey, that is a great story, and I guess you know, from that perspective of signing off on, we're going to build a headquarters. If you weren't scared, there'd be something wrong, right? So that is such a great story. Hey, so I wanted to just close this session with a huge thank you to both of you in terms of covering these topics and sharing your stories, and Elena for you know, for putting a perspective on this in terms of building this startup brand and sharing that combination between the two of you. So I want to say thank you to both. And we'll share this information with our audience as the weekend progresses here. And so we'll wrap this up. We do have our next session starting up at 1 o'clock. So a huge thank you to both of you. And we'll look for everybody at about 1 o'clock then. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much,
Bye.
guys.